I always get that automated recording in progress,
Yeah.
lady. Come on.
So
Takes
hi,
me back to Zoom.
hi Natalie, what's up?
Hey, not much. How are you?
I'm doing good. Everyone knows about Natalie, so she runs a Unraveling Architecture channel, and I'm too inspired by her as a YouTuber. She's also into YouTubing, so I was too inspired about looking her channel and going through it. So here we are with Natalie, and we will be having a great podcast with her. So you guys will definitely enjoy it, and Natalie is going to introduce herself with us. So come on, Natalie, tell something about you, what you do, and yeah.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hi guys, my name's Natalie Perri. I'm the creator behind Unraveling Architecture. I'm currently getting my MArch degree at the University of Pennsylvania. So I have another year left of graduate school. And then I am currently working 2 jobs in the architecture field. So I have some like professional experience as well. And on my channel, I just try to explain architectural history a little bit. Also run a couple tutorials for other architecture students out there because I think it can be a very hard major too with a little guidance. So yeah, so that was the idea behind the channel there.
So Natalie, what your typical days look like? So you are in architecture, obviously. So what is your typical day? Like you are working, right? And you are also doing masters. So what it does look like, I want to know about it.
Yeah, so during the school year, I would say it's a lot more hectic. So I have studio classes, which is the big architecture class, 2 credit, 3 days a week. So I'll just take that one of those studio days, for instance. So I would wake up relatively early, knock out some work remotely at one of my jobs, and we do LiDAR laser scanning imagery in the architectural field. So it's pretty exciting, high tech stuff. So I like doing that. And then I'll probably head to class a little bit before noon, knock out studio for about 6 hours, do my homework after that studio class. So it's like a constant cycle of just learning more about architecture, but also applying it in my professional jobs.
So you are in U.S.A, so that's the difference. Like you must be experiencing different kind of job, and even like you have to manage your college life with work life. So that will be interesting, I guess. And the other thing is that like what kind of architects inspires you, and what kind of architecture do you believe in? So can you tell our viewers about it? Any famous architect that you want that make you inspired?
Sure. So I think an architectural trend that I'm totally behind is called biophilic architecture. And it's all about integrating naturescapes back into buildings itself. And I think if you look in major cities, just take the US, for instance, like, I don't know if you ever visited New York, but it's very disconnected from nature. Even Central Park is designed. I don't have an issue with that, but if you look at majority of New York, it's a concrete jungle, right? So, and it has a negative impact on your personal health as well, just like being so disconnected from nature. So I'm really excited about this kind of, it's on trend right now, but I think a lot of designers are now taking it very seriously, trying to make people live in a healthier environment, even getting LEED or WELL certified, your building certified. When you're a licensed architect, you also have to incorporate nature aspects as well, and having place of respite for occupants to go to. So that's like one component of architecture I'm totally on board with and really excites me. And as for famous architects, I mean, I could say the classic Zaha Hadid. She broke down a lot of barriers for women. But honestly, a local architect who I'm really fond of his work is Scott Erdy. And he's based in Philadelphia right now as well. I had him as a professor. He built like half of Philadelphia now. No, you're fine. It's more, he's more based in Philadelphia, so I feel like Philadelphia knows him a bit more. He's not really known at a national scale yet, but he's definitely up and coming. But yeah, that's an architect to keep on the lookout for, and he's great. I really enjoyed him as a professor. He taught me so much. So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking out his work. And he also tries to incorporate nature and stuff. In his studio, our prompt was vertical farming and incorporating vertical farming components into architecture. So that really merged a lot of my interest all into just one studio project. So I really enjoyed that. He's great.
I want to ask you like how you end up in architecture college. So what was the interest that develops, and was it planned or eventually happened for you? I want to know that.
Yeah, sure. So I think like a lot of other architecture students, I really had a interest in art. So I did a lot of fine art growing up. I'm a self-taught artist, and I really liked realism and like drawing like my surroundings a lot. So it started off with art and like just always sketching all the time. And I really wanted to incorporate sketching into my professional life, but without being the quote starving artist. So I opted for design first, actually. So I was studying industrial design, which is product design in the States, at my undergrad college, Ohio State University. In the middle of nowhere, mind you, in the States. But I ended up changing my major my second year into architecture. Loved it, didn't know much about it when I started, but never really looked back. So
Natalie, can you also show us some of your projects that you did in your college, and like any project that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so this was one of my favorite projects I did at Penn, and I was instructed by Maya Alam, and she was just great. Like we meshed really well, and she's an architect in Germany, and basically this is a train station that has community functions as well. So basically the site is 52nd Street train station on Market, based in Philadelphia. And it's kind of a rundown area, I would say. And basically, when we were speaking to the community members, they felt that they had no place to share their identities with. So basically, what I wanted to do as the architect is provide essentially a blank canvas for community members to come through and like make it their own. So street art is a very common culture in Philadelphia, graffiti, murals, everything. So I think a lot of people really admire it as well here. So providing this blank canvas, which is you can see in this middle elevation, enables the community members to kind of take over the space with their own graffiti and own works of art that they could routinely come in. And it just provides like a nice area and space for people to express themselves. And there's like a market on the ground level. There's community art spaces down below, storage, all the necessary functions. And then of course, on the left-hand side of this drawing, you can see there's the actual fully functioning train station with like the ticket vendor, bathrooms, everything like that. And then I tried to incorporate nature as well within this framing tectonic system. So there's a couple layers of structural system. We have the waffle structure, which you see on the roof, which allows for natural light penetration. But also we have this like gridded structure and then nested volumes in the grid. So yeah, so I really enjoyed this project. It took some time to figure out a lot of the logistics, but I was really happy with the result. Yeah, so this is just a couple images from my portfolio. This was, please excuse the formatting. I did this in one night. I went through and I redid this, but I can't find the updated portfolio.
No problem.
Yeah,
yeah, that thing
architecture struggles.
happens. Like you have to
happens.
design within a day because there is a deadline, and you have to provide the you have to meet through the deadline. So that happens a lot.
Oh my God, all the time. Literally the the biggest struggle in architecture, right? Is like you have a whole project all semester and you wait until like the last week to finish everything. God. So anyway, with effective timing though, that will not be you. Yeah. So please excuse this spread. I know it's not the best, but this is the project that I had with Scott Erdy, and that's the architect who I mentioned before. So this is a vertical and traditional farming plane meshed with a modular urban housing unit above. So here you can kind of see in this diagram here, I'll like zoom in a little bit. Like we have a refurbished aquaponics section in the Enterprise Center, which services the community for lower income neighborhoods to start their own businesses. And then on the top, we have a vertical trellising system, which like leaks down into these unused large spaces with a traditional farming plane. And then we have housing units in the tall structure and a green roof on top. So this was a pretty intense project. It was a solo project and it was all semester long. The like form itself mimics these social housing units over here. So that's where that was derived from. And yeah, it was just a really fun project. I learned a lot about vertical farming and like even water circulation and how water needs to circulate through a building. So yeah, that was another favorite of mine. But those are two projects that I'm pretty proud of, I would say. So yeah.
That was actually amazing. Like I really like how you integrate a lot of local culture on your design. Like there are painting, there are wall arts that are there in first project, and even you collaborate nature sustainability with your project. So that is very cool. So yeah, and even the kind of graphics that you use. So while I was designing my portfolio, I was going through your portfolio also, okay, to take to take some reference, because I know that the kind of style that you use for your graphic is amazing. So
thank you.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a thing that happened to me. And yeah, I really like your portfolio. It's very simplistic and shows everything, whatever the design process is involved in it. So
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot, actually. Yeah, so I feel like Penn taught me a lot so far about graphic styles and stuff, and I feel like I can always improve. Anyone can always improve on like their graphics. So yeah, just like test things out is always like a good way to approach things, and I feel like I'm still trying to test some like graphic styles out. So it's a slow process, but it's a fun one too if you like it. So yeah.
So one more thing that I want to ask from you is that like if an international student want to come and pursue architecture in USA, or the second case in which a person who graduated from maybe India or any international student who want to work as an architect in USA. So what are the two things, like what are the case they have to go through? So can you please tell us about that, like for studying purpose and for practicing purpose, like what are the criteria that is needed in USA?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. So for a practicing purpose, we'll start with that one. So to become a licensed architect in the States, you have three requirements. You have an education requirement, you have work experience requirements, and you have a series of tests that you have to complete. So for an education requirement, our schools here have to be approved by NAB. And basically NAB is an association that just goes through and vets all the architecture colleges in the States and make sure that, you know, you're learning structures, you're learning construction methods, because it is a very high risk field, right? Like they don't want buildings falling down here, right? So if you received your education from a different country, it doesn't matter which one, you're going to have to go through a filing process with this association, NAB and NCARB. I would check with both of them, and just like they'll
NAB
verify.
And, like what are the
NCARB?
NCARB. Okay.
I'll write it in the chat.
Yeah, sure.
So you just have to go through a correspondence with these two associations just to verify that you did in fact get your degree. and they'll verify using your curriculums and stuff that it's appropriate. Now, if it was not appropriate, then you will have to go back to school, but not as long as like I was in school. I was in school for going on 7 years, just in architecture school, right? But like you would probably need to do like a year, 2 years here, education-wise. But let's say hypothetically, your school got approved, then you would have to fulfill your hours. Now, if you were a licensed architect in a different state, chances are they'll lessen your hours here. But if you're a newly graduated student, you're still going to have to fill your 3,000 plus hours here. And that's working. Yeah. And that's working under a licensed architect. A lot of people make the mistake that it could be like working at an architecture firm, but like your supervisor's an interior designer, that's not going to cut it. You need to work under a licensed architect. So that's that. And then the third requirement is a series of tests. I think there's 5 now, if my memory serves me right, but those can be a little strenuous to study for. But yeah, just knock them out. So basically, it'll take about 3 years if you have your education requirement already checked off, living in the States full-time, before you have the opportunity to call yourselves a registered architect, an RA. So yeah, so that's that.
And like for studying there, what they have to do?
Sorry. Yeah, so if you wanted to come to the States to study, that's probably the easier route, but I would recommend, once again, to do research based on your college that you want to go to. Make sure that it is approved by the NAAB or NAB, and just ensure that like they will accept international students. I think every school does, but they have a certain, like, I think it's called an IAB test. Don't quote me on that though, but there's like a international entrance exam that you would have to take to prove, like, it's like your version of the SAT, because like American students have to take the SAT or ACT. I don't think international students do, but you take your own version. Yeah, and then just like transferring your high school credits over if you took any like advanced standing classes. But that's more college dependent. But if you know that you want to study and work and live as a registered architect in the United States, it honestly might just be more painless if you study here. That's my recommendation. But I'm, once again, just a disclaimer, I'm not an international student. I never went through either of those processes. So I'm sure there's more hurdles that maybe I didn't mention, but that's just an overview of what I know.
And like, what is the time that is required for completing your education? So what is the number of years that is required?
Oh yeah, so that depends. So if you want to go to college here and you want to become a licensed architect, let's just say that all your schools that you're looking at are approved by NAB. So then you would need to either receive a B.Arch degree, which is typically a 5-year degree, and you would only go to one university for it. Sometimes they're even six-year programs, or you could do a 4+2 year or 4+3 year program. So it's 4 years of undergrad, and hypothetically you could major in anything. But what they really want is that master's degree. So like when you're applying for your RA or to become a RA, they aren't really going to ask you like what your undergrad, I mean, they will, but it's not as important. What they really need is a master's degree in architecture for you to become a registered architect here. And so you could get any kind of architectural degree at a master's level from any NAB approved college.
Thank you. And the next thing that I want to know is that how is like the architecture lifestyle in USA? So if you are an architect in USA, so do you think is it a good career option for people?
Yeah, I think so. I work for a small firm right now, and the owner is a RA, and he does a lot for the firm, but he still has like boundaries as well. So like he works like 9 to 5. Some days, other days he'll work like 9 to 7. But like I think you can achieve like a flexible work-life balance and lifestyle, which is compatible with how you want to live. I think it's a booming field right now. We have a population boom emerging with like a housing crisis here. I'm not sure how it is in your hometown, but so it's definitely in a high demand field right now. So as long as the building economy is okay, then architects are in high demand right now.
Yeah, true.
So
it's same for India, I guess. Like people are needing more living spaces, and even new construction is happening. So it's happening everywhere, I guess. So new development, new projects, new ideas for architects. So what is the final advice that you want to give all the students and architects out there? Like, what's any final advice from your side?
Yeah, I would say take it slow. I remember, I only have 1 year left of grad school, and it really does fly by. And my other advice is to be like, go outside more. I think a lot of times like we're so pressured to just stay inside studio and work nonstop on a project. But I think if you actually experience life and understand and study people and how they interact with spaces, that's so much more beneficial than like just dying on Arch Daily sites, like looking at reference sites and pictures and plans and stuff. That's still helpful, but like if you actually take a step outside and understand what people need from spaces and really open your eyes through experience, I think that's an incredibly important part that a lot of students forget to do. So yeah, that's my other advice. So, and have fun with it too,
That's sure. Yeah. I will also taking advice from you.
Yeah, go outside more.
Yeah. And as a content creator, like I just want to ask you, like I see you as a very good content creator related to architecture. So what is what it feels like being a YouTuber and making content out there?
Oh yeah, well, YouTube has been on the back burner just because I work so much. I'm putting myself through grad school, so like I need to get my finances squared away first. But like making the content super fun. It's like another light of architecture too, and it's like completely different from studio work too. So it has to be more like artfully crafted. You have to be articulate, and then you have to get to the point pretty quickly, just because people's attention spans, as you know, on the internet are extremely short, right?
Extremely short,
it's it's extremely interesting though, and it's somewhat educational, and it's very beautiful. And if you get really into the whole architectural niche and you just like start to understand design and how our whole world and environment is designed, I think you'd be amazed. So yeah, that was the premise behind starting the channel. I hope to post more, so yeah. But maybe in the future we'll have another collab or something on my channel, actually, if you would be interested.
Sure.
But yeah, I just need to I just have to get it under control. So yeah, I've been MIA for a little bit, so but thank you for asking. Any advice for me?
You are doing great already. You don't need advice.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
So it was a nice session with you, and I really enjoyed. Like I was waiting for this podcast to happen for a long time, and it eventually happened. And yeah, for sure, more collaboration will be ahead. And thank you for joining me. And yeah, you have a different vibes, and I'm really glad that you came to my channel. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you for inviting me. I'm honored. What can I say? So thank you.